Hey everyone, hello and welcome to this week's Wednesday One Thing. I'm your host Hamza, and I'm joined by my co-host Maury Rubin. Maury, how's it going?
I'm doing great, Hamza. Always a pleasure to be here with you.
Super, super. Well, Maury, the topic today is of particular interest to me because it pertains to alcohol, and it's actually specific to Drizzly, the alcohol delivery app, the on-demand alcohol delivery app that's about to get acquired by Uber Technologies for 1.1 billion, with something close to 90% of that transaction being in Uber stock and only 10% in cash. And this is actually a super interesting development in the world of on-demand deliveries because of what it represents to Uber and really what's happening to Uber and what's happening to the way we consume products um, online. So before this deal closed, Drizzly had actually held talks for its acquisition with DoorDash, which is actually the largest food delivery app in the U.S. Uh, with GoPuff, the SoftBank-backed delivery company that acquired BevMo. Um, and eventually they ended up going with Uber. And of course, as with most e-commerce companies and most on-demand delivery companies, Drizzly had a breakout year in 2020. Consumers shifted to buying, increasingly bought stuff online. They didn't really want to go to the store for obvious reasons that we don't really need to go into all over again. But essentially, what happened was people were ordering more frequently, and the average order value also went up, which is for any consumer brand or any online marketplace just about the best thing that can happen to you. Now, the reason why this is so uniquely significant to Uber in particular is what it represents to the changes that are happening to Uber itself, right? So Uber, when we think about Uber, we've always thought about it as a people delivery service. You know, they pick people up and they drop them elsewhere. And obviously, they're also a fairly good job creator across North America in particular. And what 2020 saw was an increase in the sales of Uber Eats relative to Uber. In fact, Uber Eats sales, I think, went up something by 25% in the last quarter of the year. Um, and Uber gradually shifted its resources to delivery services, um, increasingly so because of the demand for, well, food coming up to their house. So the acquisition of Drizzly just makes a lot of sense. They can now have alcohol delivery straight off the app. They can have the Drizzly app and use that to get consumers their alcohol. And of course, with the effects of the pandemic, most states have made their on-demand delivery rules a little bit more lax, and people find it that much easier to get stuff delivered, to get alcohol delivered right off the internet, as they would call it. So overall, a fairly big development. More, I just want to throw this back to you a little bit and get some of your thoughts on this. I mean, Uber was always sort of synonymous with, Ubering here or Ubering there, i.e., replacing the way cabs work. Do you think Uber could end up just transforming into this massive delivery service for anything and everything, just based on the sort of network they've already developed, and especially the way Uber Eats has enjoyed so much popularity in the last 12 months?
It is like that is where they're going. Like a few months ago, they purchased Postmates, which delivers anything. And this kind of confuses me that this Drizzly purchase. They said, I mean, the article you're referencing here is in Bloomberg, and Drizzly is essentially remaining its own app, and then their inventory is being used in Uber Eats. So, like the first thing that came to my mind is why does Uber just not do this themselves? They already have a big market share of people. Why did they just start selling alcohol through it? And the second question is, if they are buying Drizzly, like why is the brand of Drizzly so good that they need to keep it as its own standalone app? What happens there to those assets? That's what my biggest question is on this deal. 1.1 billion to deliver alcohol. It's kind of baffling to me. Maybe someone is seeing something I'm not. I think definitely post pandemic, um, people are going to be delivering more things to their house. Whether that's I think the biggest category is actually grocery shopping. Alcohol delivery is certainly becoming more available nationwide. We're here in Toronto where just the thought of delivering alcohol is something the government absolutely doesn't want you to do, but I think they've even become more lax. And I guess I was looking at some stuff with Drizzly. They also have a cannabis delivery arm. I'm sure that plays into their strategy down the line too. Yeah, the biggest question for me is this an acqui-hire? Why keep the app as a standalone thing? And of course, Uber's goal, I think Uber Eats was the only profitable thing they did this year because no one was using Uber as a car service. That's my take on the whole situation.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, valid points. I guess from the point of view that Uber probably came from about why they want to buy Drizzly. From what I can read, especially as mentioned in the Bloomberg article that we're discussing right now, there's that expansive selection of products that Drizzly automatically brings to them. There's that sort of set customer base that they bring as well. And I think really it's about making sure they make the right moves early on, right? Because home deliveries for anything and everything is, that whole trend is on the rise. And so the sooner Uber can capture a greater market share of alcohol deliveries, the sooner they're in the game. Because if they weren't going to do it, then DoorDash would have, or some other company would have. So on the whole, I think it is a sign that a lot is changing. Just to go back to the point you mentioned, Maury, which was about Uber's acquisition of Postmates as well. I mean, I know that Uber, has a goods delivery service in at least in Toronto it does. So like if I wanted to send you something, I could just send it to you via Uber. Just using your imagination, like how far can this go? To what extent will we just have some service to deliver anything and everything we need?
Man, it's so funny you mentioned that because it seems like Uber is doing everything except groceries. They don't have a good system to do groceries, and I think they're just leaving that alone and just going after literally anything else they can deliver. And honestly, I can't wait till Boston Dynamics gets in this game and they can just deliver things with drones and they don't even need their delivery system via cars. Like, to me, basically Uber said, look, we have an entire network of drivers. They're not driving people from place to place. Let's utilize them in the best way possible, which is now delivering goods. So what is Uber going to do? They're just going to expand the network to start delivering literally anything else. I didn't even know that you could send, if what you're saying is true, that you can send me something with Uber. I don't even need to leave the house. So the longer this pandemic stretches on, the better Uber will do in this delivery space. But to me, it seems like Uber's position is deliver everything but groceries because they're sort of lagging in that space. Postmates, of course, is having people come and deliver you any product. So they're just going to double down on that. And actually, I was reading with this Drizzly thing, Drizzly. Oh my God, I love that name. They actually didn't sell their cannabis delivery arm, so they just sold their alcohol delivery arm. So I think for Uber, it's about focusing on delivering everything. They haven't cracked groceries, so it's everything but groceries at this point.
So Uber does have like a grocery tab on its app. It's not the best. It's nowhere near, for example, the scope that Instacart or some of the other apps have. But I'm sure that's also something they'll be delivering or working more on. I think it is the network of drivers that they've established that is so extensive, that covers so much area in at least in Canada or in North America in general. That it would be amiss to not tap into that to really get people the goods that they're also looking for in this time. Well, that also brings us close to our time for today. I think Maury and I are both going to go take a look through Uber and Instacart and see what it is that we're missing that we can maybe add a little bit more of for the rest of this week. But we'll be back next week to continue the conversation on the Wednesday One Thing. Maury, thanks as ever for your time.